Hello, everyone. I am going live today because I decided that I was going to read some creepy pastas for fun. So, while I'm reading these creepy pastas, if you have one of your favorite creepy pasta that you want to read, you are welcome to comment it, and I will also get to that one. I only have five pulled up. I have not read them yet, so bear with me. I'm a little bit nervous about what I'll be reading. I did not feel like reading them all because I wanted to be as excited as you guys when I do read this. Let's see. So one of the creepypastas that I have up is called Robert the Doll. In the late 1800s, Thomas Otto and his family moved into a mansion at the corner of Eaton and Smonton Street in Key West, Florida, now known as Artist House. The Ottos were known to be stern with their servants, sometimes even mistreating them. It was the treatment of one such that provides the twist in this story. This woman was hired to take care of their son, Robert. One day, Mrs. Otto supposedly witnessed her practicing black magic in the backyard and fired her. Before she left, the woman gave Robert a lifelike doll which stood 3 feet tall, had buttons for eyes, human hair, and was filled with straw. Dolls that resembled children were not unheard of during this time, but this one proved to be special. Robert named the doll after himself and often dressed it in his clothes. Robert the doll became his trustworthy companion. He took it with him on shopping trips into town, and the doll had a seat at the dinner table, where Robert would sneak get bites of food and his parents weren't looking. Robert would even be tucked into bed with the boy at night. Soon after Robert chose to be referred to by his middle name, Jean, after being scolded by his mother, he told her that Robert was the doll's name, not his. Jean was often heard in his toy room having conversations with Robert. Jean would say something in his childish manner, and responses could be heard in such a lower voice. Oh no. Right when I'm reading it, the page shuts off. That. Oh my god. Okay, if you want to know what's crazy, my computer just had a pop-ups that said I have a virus. This never happened. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, I guess we're just gonna be talking on this TikTok live, not about creepy pastas, because I just got a million pop-ups that say I have a virus on my computer, something that never happens. That's definitely something. Okay, so while we're waiting for this, how's everybody's day going? Oh, thank you. Thank you for the roses. Ah, damn it. Okay, we'll just read a different creepypasta then. Come on. I don't like that. I don't like how that started as soon to go live and read creepypastas was that I was thrown into um that's like that. That was not cool. Seer possibilities? Okay, let me search that up. Seer of possibilities. Am I still live on Facebook? Yep, still on it. The Seer possibilities creepypasta. As long as I don't get another virus pop up, I should read this just fine. Okay. Actually, I think I have this one open. 19 minutes, huh? Guys, I'm reading creepypastas for everybody that just popped up. So if you want your favorite creepypasta read out loud, just comment what it is. And as long as I don't get any viruses, I will be reading it. Hello. Thank you for joining in. Let's see. This is like my first time going live. So bear with me, guys. Very excited to read creepypastas with you guys. 10 cents. Okay. Give me one moment, friends. Okay, feel free to share the live as well. All right. Let's see. Sarah Possibilities Creepypasta. Sometimes otherworldly beings find interesting ways to try and contact you. They might use an Ouija board or maybe come to you in a dream, or sometimes they speak through another person. They each have their own style and preference. That's particular to them. The one who contacted Jack spoke to him through his computer, or I guess you could say the communication was through on screen text. The first time it happened, Jack had been sitting at his computer playing solitaire. From the router indicated that his internet connection was down again. This was at least a weekly occurrence, and Jack was getting used to his spotty internet service. As he moved his cards, the game faded into a solid black screen and the red text appeared. Hi, Jack. I need a favor from you. You're a very special person, and I know you'll help me. I can't ask this of just anyone. I really need your help. Jack paused for a second. The router light was still blinking red. Is this some kind of joke? He couldn't help but wonder. Several moments later, the message continued. Yes, Jack, I know this is weird for you, but I don't want you to worry. This is just a small, easy favor I need. I'll be make sure to reward. Now, nearly in a panic, Jack reached around and pulled the internet cable completely from the wall. Still here, Jack. I don't want to waste any more of your time, so I'll get right into what I need. Tomorrow, when you go to work, I need you to move the large potted plant that's next to the elevator on the ground floor. All you have to do is pull it out 3 inches from the wall. If you do that at 8:17 a.m., nobody else will be in the area. Jack sat there, refusing to respond, still trying to figure out what was happening. The writing continued. Look, Jack, I'm asking you because I know you'll do it. You won't let me down. You're special. We'll talk tomorrow. Jack pulled the power cord from the wall and the computer went blank. Did that really just happen? He thought. Still shaking from the experience, he took a warm shower and got ready for bed, convincing himself that he either had some crazy dream or that it was just some elaborate joke. But who would play that kind of joke on him? He didn't really have friends or enemies. He woke up the next day feeling refreshed. Work would start at 8:30 a.m., and Jack was never late. He pulled into the parking lot at 8:10 a.m. Normally he'd just go right in, but the message had told him to move the plant at 8:17 a.m. Was he really going to do it? Overnight, Jack's fear had turned into curiosity. Let's say he moved the plant. He wouldn't be doing anything wrong or illegal. In Jack's mind, the most reasonable course of action was to move the plant. He'd do it, nothing would happen, and he'll be able to put the whole crazy matter behind him. 1 minute before 8:17, Jack left his car and walked towards the building. He entered the foyer at the exact time he was supposed to. The message was right. Nobody else was around. Odd, Jack thought. The building was normally busy at this time of morning, but this temporary lull had been accurately predicted. Fine, let's see what happens, Jack muttered to himself. He walked up to the large potted plant placed firmly between the two elevators in the lobby of the 10-story building. The plant looked like it was fake, a decoration people passed every day without really noticing. It was heavier than Jack realized. He put some effort and pulled the plant out 3 inches to his best estimate. He stood back and looked at the plant, then looked around the lobby. People were coming in behind him now, and the lobby was starting to fill up again. Nobody seemed to notice the plant was in a slightly different location. Nothing seemed different at all. Jack skipped the next elevator and waited for something. But nothing happened. Finally, Jack entered the elevator and made it to the seventh floor cubicle, on time, like always. If you ever ask Jack's coworkers to describe him, you hear words like polite, quiet, respectful, and competent. And while those words were all accurate, they gave little indication of the truth. The truth that Jack really didn't like the people. That's not to say he disliked them, just that he had very little interest in getting to know them or being their friend. Say for one, Allie, the girl who sat two cubicles down from him, was the only person he wanted to know more about. With her big smile, blonde hair, and beautiful figure, Jack was very interested in learning all about her. Despite his lack of success with the woman in the past, he was actually doing a fair job getting to know her. Every morning as he passed his cubicle, he stopped for a chat. The chats were 1 minute at first, then 2 minutes, then several minutes. Jack was surprised that she actually seemed to like him. On this particular morning, their daily conversation lasted only a couple of minutes. As they exchanged their morning greetings and talked about Ali's wild night, the elevator doors opened up behind him. Out hobbled James Bentley, the boss of both Jack and Ali. James' loud complaining could be heard throughout the office. My dang foot. What happened, James? Came the mumbling queries. It's that dang plant they have in the lobby. I ran right into it and twisted my ankle. James, you can barely walk. You need to go to the hospital, came Allie's concerned reply. Can't do it now. I have meetings all day. Too important to cancel. I'll just have to tough it out. Jack, feeling stunned, left Allie's cubicle mid-conversation and sunk down into a chair. It was his fault, he was sure of it. How could he have been so stupid and careless? Still, no use worrying about it now. A twisted ankle would heal. Everything will be all right. Upon his return, Jack went immediately to his computer and turned it on. As soon as the computer boosted up, the screen went black and a new message popped up. How's your day, Jack? He sat there staring at the screen, not knowing how to answer. The message on the screen continued. Actually, I know how your day was, but never let it be said that I'm not polite. You're wondering what's going on. You want to know why James Bentley had to twist his ankle. Well, Jack, this chain of events isn't done playing out. I don't want to tell you too much too soon, but this will all make sense to you in the short order. Just go to work tomorrow like you normally do. Don't worry about a thing, Jack. You'll be rewarded. You're special. Talk to you tomorrow. Jack sat back in his chair. What was going on? Who was this sending him messages? Jack's curiosity was fully engaged, and he was almost a bit excited to see what would happen next. Next morning at work started off as any ordinary day. Jack noticed that the plant would have been pushed back fully against the wall, probably by the night cleaning crew. James Bentley showed up shortly after lunch, hobbling into the office on his one good foot. Man, this foot is killing me, Jack could overhear him say, but apparently James still had a meeting he didn't want to miss. It wasn't until around 3 o'clock that Jack saw him again. James, who always seemed to prefer Ellie over the others, came limping up to her cubicle. Ellie, you're not doing anything right now, are you? No, nothing that can wait until tomorrow, I guess. Good. Would you please drive me to see my doctor? I probably should have gone yesterday, but I just couldn't get away. This pain is just killing me right now, and I don't think I can drive myself. I barely made it here this morning, and I don't think I can even push the gas pedal right now. We can take my car if you want. Yeah, that's fine, James. I don't have a problem taking you. Turning to Jack, she said her goodbye. See you tomorrow, Jackie. She put on her coat and slowly followed James as he struggled down the hallway. She gave a half turn and a shrug in Jack's direction, with a little smile as she walked away. Jack felt even lonelier than normal when she was gone. It was 10 minutes later, and they all heard the crash. It was preceded by the loud horn of an 18-wheeler and a screeching brake. The collision itself was a sickening thud of two large metal objects colliding. Even on the seventh floor it was loud. The office workers gasped and they ran to the window. Is that James' car? One of them asked. Hard to tell from up here, someone responded. It's so banged up. The horrifying implication of what just happened came to Jack immediately. No, 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 he thought. This can't be true. Shaking all the way, he ran to the elevator and went to the ground floor, along with several others from the office. Some of them were crying. As they joined the growing crowd around the scene of the accident, Jack could hear the far-off sound of the emergency sirens. Looking past the walkers, he could see that the 18-wheeler had hit James' car broadside. His driver had been thrown out into the pavement where he laid motionless. James was sitting in the passenger seat of his car. motionless but with a surprised look on his bloody face. Jack couldn't tell if he was alive or dead. The driver's side, where Ellie was seated, had taken the hit. The space she'd been occupying had been compacted to a third of its original size. Ellie's head was smashed open and her twisted body was broken and battered. The crowd was stunned. Tears, screams, sirens, that was all Jack could hear. Without going back inside into the building, Jack ran to his car and drove home, angry and sad. He made the journey home and to his computer. The machines were set. He wanted to turn it on, but was afraid of what he'd find out. Was he really the one responsible for Ali's death? The whole chain of events had started with him. He knew he was to blame. Jack reached for the power button and then pulled back his hand back. Finally, after several minutes, he found the mental strength to turn it on. The screen flickered and then went black, and the familiar text started appearing on the screen. No, Jack, it's not your fault. I know you're blaming yourself. But all people die eventually, some just sooner than others. Jack stared at the screen. He resisted the urge to throw the monitor to the ground. After a moment, the writing continued. Jack, I'm going to tell you something, but I really need you to seriously consider everything I'm about to tell you. You thought you were in love with Allie. The truth is, you just wanted to bang her. And please excuse my language, but every once in a great while, it's best to be blunt, Jack. She wasn't the one for you. She would have made your life miserable. Yes, you would have eventually found the courage to ask her out. She actually was interested in you. She thought you made for a good project. Sad, really, for her, not for you. I want you to think back to all the things she told you. Why did her last boyfriend break up with her? Because she cheated on him, Jack mumbled under his breath. Because she cheated on him, Jack. The same thing she would have done to you. She would have made you happy for about 2 months and then miserable for the next 4 years, sneaking around, laughing at you behind your back, spending all your money. Once you finally got rid of her, you would have been so jaded that you'd never date again. This is true, Jack. I see all future possibilities, the one that come to pass and the ones that don't. You've seen how she really is, Jack, but you let your lust for her blind you to the truth. Together, you and I made sure to avoid this path. One more thing, Jack. This isn't done playing out yet. There's more to come. No, you killed her, Jack screamed and threw the monitor from the desk. It landed on the floor and sparked out. Jack got barely any sleep that night, and the next day he wasn't sure if he wanted to go to work. The last words he's been told that piqued his curiosity, and his anger had somewhat subsided. No work was done in the office that day. The company brought in grief counselors. People shared their thoughts, they cried, they hugged. James had actually survived the accident, but was in a coma. The doctors thought he might recover eventually, but nobody was really sure. Late in the afternoon, Jack was approached by Diego Salvaro, the head of the division. Diego was blunt and upfront, and he offered James' position to Jack. Technically, it would be a temporary promotion, but James wouldn't be back anytime soon. Diego promised him that the promotion would be made permanent once enough time has passed. Let's keep this low key for now, Diego told him. I know it might seem quick, but the Lancaster project James is working on can't be stopped. It's too important for the company. I need someone in charge right away. This can't wait. Stunned, Jack accepted the promotion. He left work with a strange mixture of feelings, not really sure how he felt about everything. On his way home, he stopped at the electronics store and bought a new monitor. He made it home, powered up the computer. Once again, the writing came on screen. Jack, I want to be the first one to congratulate you. I'm proud of what you accomplished. Jack stared at the screen. Jack, I have to ask your forgiveness because I haven't introduced myself yet. I'm called the Seer. Like I told you before, I see what will be and I see what can be. It's a very powerful gift I had. But you know what, Jack? For all my powers, I still can't do anything corporal. I can predict, I can see, and with enough effort, I can even communicate. But I don't have a body. That's something that was taken from me a long, long time ago. That's why I need you, Jack. I'm an artist of a sort, an artist of human manipulation. You'll be my paintbrush and my canvas. I want you to work with me, Jack. It's all very simple. Just perform simple tasks for me from time to time. Jack was becoming more and more curious. And Jack, before you give me an answer, I want you to know a couple things. First off, I'll never lie to you. Secondly, I'll never ask you to do anything which, taken by itself, is wrong or illegal. Yes, bad things will result, and sometimes people will die. But they're going to die eventually anyways, right, Jack? And the bad people will always be balanced out by something good happening to you. Jack winced at this last idea, but he felt the urge to turn the computer off. The seer was right. Everyone will die eventually. Why not something good come of it? And what would never lying to him? If he'd known at the time that Ali was going to die, he'd have never gone through with the original favor. But as he thought more about it, he realized Seer hadn't lied to him, but had only withheld information. Still, Jack wondered if he could trust the Seer. Work with me, Jack. Together, we'll make incredible things happen. I'm just asking you to perform little tasks from time to time. Oh, but these little tasks will have great consequences. They're going to be beautiful, Jack, and they'll always end with a reward for you. That's the beauty of my art. One single task produces something bad and something good. Oh, one last thing, Jack. I can see you're having trouble with this. If I stop talking to you right now, it would take you about 2 weeks to decide to join me. But you know what, Jack? You would join me. That's right. You're going to say yes. So instead of waiting, why not just say yes to me now? Let's get started, Jack, and when all this is over, you're going to thank me. I promise you. Jack considered what the seer had just said. His initial feeling of revolt was slowly fading. He paused, and then for some first time, he placed his fingers on the keyboard and responded directly to the seer. What do you want me to do next? As years passed, Jack did every favor Seer asked him, and as the seer had promised, Jack was rewarded for his actions each time. The rewards often came in unexpected and interesting ways. One of the most memorable experiences for Jack happened about 2 years ago when he first agreed to help the seer. Jack, I need you to go downtown tomorrow, the seer requested. Enter Garman's Liquor at exactly 12:37 p.m. A man will ask you a question. The answer you're going to give him is 27. As always, the seer instructions were simple and direct yet mysterious. The next day, as requested, Jack entered the store. In front of him, a blurry construction worker was at the counter filling out a lottery placelet. Let's see here, said the construction worker. My birthday, that's the 15th. My wife's birthday, that's the 24th. And my kids' ages, 2, 10, and 13. The man scratched his head and looked around, zeroing in on Jack. Hey, buddy, I need another number. You got one for me? Jack smiled. 27. Really? I was thinking about playing 35, but you know what? I like your face. Let's go with 27. With that, the man completed his slip and paid for his lottery ticket. See ya, pal, he said happily, and he patted Jack on the shoulder on his way out. Jack tried not to put any more thought into what just happened to this man. Just let these things play out, Jack. You'll never guess how things end up. So just let yourself be surprised, the seer had advised him. Still, it was impossible not to wonder about these things from time to time. He knew, considering the way the seer worked, there was no way possible that he'd actually help this man. But given him a losing lottery number, that was too simple for the seer, and he couldn't imagine he actually given him a winning number. So that's how Jack was surprised when 2 weeks later he ran into the same man again, but this time at a grocery store. Hey, buddy, it's you. I remember you. Check it out. I won. Indeed, the man looked like $1 million, wearing new clothes, a new gold watch, and a big, goofy smile. The man walked right up to Jack. I didn't think I would ever see you again, but I'm so glad you're here. I could have never won without you. Hey, let me buy these groceries for you. No, wait, that's not good enough for you. You're my good luck charm. Always gotta treat people right. That's what my mama says. Reaching into his pocket, the man removed his checkbook and promptly wrote Jack a check for $10,000. It's the least I can do for my good luck charm. After thanking the man and feeling a bit confused about the whole thing, Jack raced home to his computer. After turning it on, the seer's writing appeared on the screen. Well, Jack, how does it feel to be $10,000 richer? It feels good, but I can't help but wonder. We've never helped anyone else before. Why are we starting now? Jack asked that question with a tinge of guilt. He never liked to admit that these people were being hurt by his action, but in this case, his curiosity overwhelmed any latent feelings of guilt. Oh, Jack, we haven't helped anyone. Yes, that man is happy now, but I've lost every last penny within 2 years. You saw it for yourself. He just gives money away. Old friends, lost relatives, they're all going to come asking him for money. And there will be some very bad investments as well. The stress of losing everything is going to cause his wife to leave him. She'll take the kids too. He'll be alone and broken. A ruined man who would have been much better off if he'd never had one. You needn't feel bad, Jack. It's the man's own stupidity and greed that will do this to him. Jack felt some regret, but the seer's rationalizing and focusing on his own reward always put him at peace in the end. Through the years, no two tasks were ever alike. Sometimes the effect of his actions were direct and easy to see. Other times they caused a chain reaction so complex that he simply could not follow it. Go to the country's administration building, park in space 43 at 4:47 p.m. came one such request. Jack did so, and 2 months later he met Donna, with whom he fell in love and ended up marrying. He wouldn't have ever known the two events were related if he hadn't asked Seer about it. Jack, when you parked in that space, you caused the person who would have parked there to park in a different spot. But she bumped the car next to her. She barely made a scratch, but she called her insurance anyways, causing him to leave the office late. He missed the train home, and while waiting for the late train, he was mugged and stabbed. He'll never fully recover. The muggers took his credit card and used them. And Jack, I could keep going with this, but there's another 23 people involved. Sometimes these favors are going to be very complicated, but let's just say your action ultimately caused Donna to be in the exact right place for you to meet. Jack's relationship with the seer grew. Though remaining mostly mysterious, the seer divulged enough information over time so that Jack could get a generalized understanding of the seer's history. From historical reference, Jack knew the seer was thousands of years old. When still alive, the seer had been a powerful fortune teller and an artist who foretold future happenings through paintings. A foolish king who misinterpreted the seer's prediction and lost a battle as a result had the seer executed. Unencumbered by physical senses and existing in the lonesome void, the seer's ability expanded and exponentially finally learned to communicate with the living. The seer began reaching out to those who would respond, including Jack. And of course, the seer knew everything about Jack. In all, it was much of a friendship as one can have from a dead person. And Jack was grateful to the seer too. He had a nice job, a nice home, and a beautiful wife, and people who respected him. He was really happy, which is something he'd never felt before the seer contacted him. 12 years in total had passed. 12 good years for Jack. But task was completed, usually about one every month. Jack was sitting in the office of this large rural house, was contacted by the seer once again. Hi, Jack. I have a favor to ask you. This one's the easiest yet. You don't even have to get up. Call Rego's Pizza in exactly 2 minutes, let the phone ring 3 times, then you hang up. Jack smiled. Nice and easy. He no longer wondered how these tasks would play out. He trusted the seer and simply did as he was told. Jack made the call exactly 2 minutes later. The quietness of the household was broken 30 minutes later by the ringing doorbell. That's odd, Jack thought. Neither he nor Donna were expecting anyone. Jack looked at the peephole and saw the pizza delivery boy. The logo of his cap said Raigo's Pizza. Jack opened the door. Here's your pizza, said the boy as he thrust it in Jack's hand. But I didn't order this, Jack argued. Look, I don't give a damn if you order it or not. Mr. Rigo told me to deliver it here, so that's what I'm doing. The delivery boy argued as he looked increasingly annoyed by and spat in the bushes. Jack looked at the boy in front of him. He looked to be about 17 years old, but the most notable thing about him was his size. He was huge, probably about 6.5 feet tall and very muscular. It's already paid for by credit card. Just take it, because I'm not driving it back. The boy put his hand out for the tip. I don't have any cash on me, Jack told the truth. Whatever, came the disgusted reply. The boy looked past Jack into the house, then turned and walked slowly to his weighted car, looking over his shoulder as he walked. Jack closed the door and took the pizza to the living room, where Donna was watching TV. After explaining what happened, he excused himself to go to his office, promising to return shortly. Donna opened the pizza and took a bite. Come back soon, sweetie. The pizza got all your favorite toppings on it, Donna giggled as she took a bite. Arriving at his computer, the seer's word appeared to be on the screen. Confused, Jack? Don't be. Your neighbor down the road ordered the pizza. Mr. Ego told the boy the correct address, but a ringing phone made it difficult for him to be heard correctly. Still, give the boy credit. He got the street right at least. So my reward is pizza? Jack typed out, a little confused. Yes, Jack, your reward is pizza, and also the chance to spend a little time with your wife. Go down there, share the pizza, enjoy it. When you're done, make love to Donna. That's not one of your tasks. That's just some advice I think you should follow. Oh, by the way, your neighbors who ordered the pizza are arguing right now over the silly fact that the pizza didn't arrive. Some of the things people argue over amaze me. They really do. The fight is going to get very heated, but you don't need to worry about that. Go enjoy your night. Jack followed the seer's advice, cuddled with Donna as they enjoyed their meal, then made love on their big, comfortable living room couch. Donna fell asleep on the couch shortly after 11 p.m. Jack lay there awake. His latest favorite, it just felt odd. Carefully extracting his arm from under Donna, Jack left the living room and headed upstairs. Sitting down to the computer, Jack typed, "Are you still there?" "Yes, Jack. I am actually always here. I've been waiting for you to come back. That pizza delivery boy, he's quite a specimen, isn't he?" Jack looked quizzically at the screen. The seer continued. "He's a horrible employee. He was hired only 3 days ago, and already Mr. Rico wants to fire him. As a physical specimen, he's strong, fast, and very observant. For example, he knows that you didn't lock the front door after he delivered your pizza." "What?" Jack said out loud as he's starting to get up. "Sit down, Jack. I need to tell you something important. Locking the door now won't change your situation." Jack slowly took his seat again at the computer, looking behind himself as he did. "You see, Jack, it's true that I never lied to you. Everything I've ever told you is 100% honest. But yes, I withheld certain facts. You see, I told you that every task causes something bad to happen and something else and something good to happen to you. But here's the third thing. There's an ultimate goal that each of your tests was working towards, remember? Allie? Of course you do. What you probably don't remember about her is that she was helping to pay her brother's way through college. When she died, he had to drop out. He was going to be a great physiologist, but now he works in a factory instead. That's really too bad for our pizza delivery boy. Could have used a good therapist a few years ago, but that good therapist wasn't there for him. Instead, he got some Fridu- Friduin quack. And remember our lottery winner? Yes, you do. He was a neighbor to our pizza boy. After he lost all his money, of course, he beat that boy senseless after the boy jumped into the street in front of his car. Quite traumatic memory for a young lad, and his mother didn't care about that incident, didn't protect the boy at all. She couldn't, not after using all the drugs given to her by a boyfriend who happened to be one of the muggers who robbed that insurance agent. He bought the drugs with the money he made from the robbery. Do you see the scope of my artistry? Jack sat, glaring at the monitor. He wanted to get up, to check on Donna, but he was too scared to move. The sir continued. "Jack, you've done over 100 tasks for me, and each one has served an ultimate purpose. To psychologically destroy this boy, turn him into a monster, to bring him here tonight. Don't you see, Jack? This involved tens of thousands of people, and billions of possibility. If you failed to complete even one of the tasks, this whole chain would have collapsed. This was orchestrated by me and set in motion by you. Together, we've done something wonderful. This is our masterpiece of human manipulation, our masterpiece, and it begins and ends with you. Two perfect points in time. Tonight, wrong address, no tip. This boy finally snapped. He's downstairs right now. He's harming Donna at this exact moment." Jack could hear a short, muffled scream coming from the neighborhood, followed by gurgling noises. "No!" Jack screamed and stood staring around upstairs. "Jack, stop!" The voice started Jack. It was inside his head. For the first time, the seer was talking to him directly. It was a pleasant voice, a feminine voice. "You can't do anything. She's already gone. He'll be coming for you shortly, and you can't stop him." "But why?" Jack cried with tears welling up his eyes. "It's not an artist's masterpiece if it doesn't begin and end with you, Jack." Her voice was soothing. "I want you to appreciate the fact that I'm talking to you directly. This requires all my energy. As a result, I'll have to rest for several years before I can contact anyone again. That's how special you are to me. Please don't feel bad about this, Jack. I want you to take a moment and enjoy our accomplishments as much as I do." The voice paused briefly, then continued. "Do you know what, Jack? If I never contacted you, you would have lived 85 years. 85 boring, meaningless, and bitter years. And when you died, nobody would have been at your funeral. I gave you 12 great, meaningful years. We were happy, and together we did something beautiful, something unique." Jack paused a minute and considered his 12 years of happiness, and his tears of sorrow mixed with tears of joy. He turned and looked at the computer, while behind him, the massive hulk of a demented delivery boy appeared in the doorway, a bloody knife in his hand. On the top of the screen, the last words for the seer appeared. "Don't you have something to say for me, Jack?" Jack wiped his tears and observed everything the seer just told him. As the hawk started stepping closer to him, Jack said with a mouthful of his final words, "Thankful. Thank you." Jesus. That was a story. Well, thank you for telling me to read that story. It's definitely a very interesting read. I haven't read that one before. I had a lot to say about that whole thing. Does anybody else have any other creepypastas they want me to read? I'll just continue reading whatever I have here. Let me see. Hello, Ryan. Gotta close that out. I don't know how you feel about that story. Honestly, would you rather have listened to the seer and get 12 happy lives? Or would you rather be a person who lived 80 boring lives? That was a very long read also. Um, sorry for any of my stuttering or like trying to read those words because sometimes books are hard. I'd rather live a long life as long as I was happy. Yeah, but it didn't seem like he would have been happy according to the seer. The seer mentioned that he was gonna like live a boring life and there was really gonna be nobody there, so I mean, kind of similar. If my life was happy, then sure, I would like to live a long life. Hello. We're reading creepypastas. Just read something about a seer. I was asking if anybody wanted me to read a creepypasta, they can put it down below. We have been here for 36 minutes. And I have read one creepypasta and a half. So I think we can do one more. If you guys don't have anything for me to read, I will read this one called The Russian Sleep Experiment. Okay. Russian researchers in the late 1940s kept 5 people awake for 15 days using an experimental gas-based stimuli. They were kept in a sealed environment to carefully monitor their oxygen intake so that the gas didn't kill them, since it was toxin in the high concentrations. This was before closed circuit cameras, so they only had microphones and a 5-inch thick glass porthole sized windows into the chamber to monitor them. The chamber was stocked with boats, cots to sleep on, but no bedding, running water, and toilet, and enough dried food to last all 5 for over a month. The test subjects were political prisoners deemed enemies to the state during World War II. Everything was fine for the first 5 days. The subjects hardly complained, having been promised falsely that they would be freed if they submitted to the test and did not sleep for 30 days. Their conversations and activities were monitored, and it was noted that they continued to talk about their increasingly traumatic incidents in the past, and the general tone of their conversations took on a darker aspect after the 40 days mark. At the 5 days, they started to complain about the circumstances and events that led them to where they were, started to demonstrate severe paranoia. They stopped talking to each other and began alternately whispering to the microphones, in one way mirrored portholes. Oddly, they all seemed to think that they could win the trust of the experimenters by turning over the comrades, the other subjects in captivity with them. At first, the researchers suspected this was an effect of the gas itself. After 9 days, the first of them started screaming. He ran the length of the chamber, repeatedly yelling at the top of his lungs for 3 hours straight. He continued attempting to scream, but was only able to produce occasional squeaks. The researchers postulated that he had physically torn his vocal cords. The most surprising thing about this behavior is how the other captives reacted to it, or rather, didn't react to it. They continued whispering to the microphones until the second of their captives started to scream. The non-screaming captives took the books apart, smeared page after page with their own feces, pasted them calmly over the glass portholes. The screaming promptly started. So did the whispering to the microphones. After 3 more days passed, the researchers checked the microphone hourly to make sure that they were working. Since they thought it was impossible that no sound could be coming with 5 people inside. Oxygen consumption in the chamber indicated that all 5 people must be alive. In fact, it was the amount of oxygen 5 people would consume at the very heavy level of strenuous exercise. On the morning of the 14th day, the researcher did something they said they would not do to get a reaction from the captives. They took the intercom inside the chamber, hoping to provoke any response from the captives they were afraid were either dead or vegetables. They announced, "We are opening the chamber to test the microphones. Step away from the door and lie flat on the floor, or you will be shot. Compliance will earn one of you your immediate freedom." To their surprise, they heard a single phrase in the calm voice response: "We no longer want to be Fred." Debate broke out among the researchers and the military force funding the research. Unable to provoke any more response using the intercom, it was finally decided to open the chamber at midnight on the 15th day. The chamber was flushed of stimulant gas and filled with fresh air, and immediately voices from the microphones began to object. 3 different voices began begging, as if pleading for the life of loved ones, to turn the gas back on. The chamber was open and soldiers sent in to retrieve the test subjects. They began to scream louder than ever, and so did the soldiers when they saw that was inside. 4 of the 5 subjects were still alive, although no one could rightly call the state of any of them in life. The food rations past day 5 have not been so much as touched. There were chunks of meat from the dead test subject's thighs and chest stuffed into the drain in the center of the chamber, blocking the drain and following 4 inches of water to accumulate on the floor. Precisely how much of water on the floor was actually blood that was never determined. All 4 surviving test subjects also had large portions of muscle and skin torn away from their bodies. The destruction of flesh and exposed bone on their fingertips indicated that the wounds were inflicted by hand, not with teeth, as the researchers initially thought. Closer to examination of the position and angles of the wounds indicated that most, if not all, of them were self-inflicted. Wait. The abdominal organs below the rib cage of all 4 test subjects had been removed. While the heart, lungs, and diaphragm remained in place, the skin and most of the muscles attached to the ribs had been ripped off, exposing the lungs through the rib cage. All the blood vessels and organs remained intact. They had been taken out and laid on the floor, fanning out around the extricated but still living bodies of the subjects. The digestive tract of all 4 could be seen to be working, digesting food. It quickly became apparent that what they were digesting was their own flesh that had been ripped off and eaten over the course of days. Most of the soldiers were Russian special operatives at the facility, but still many refused to return to the chamber to remove the test subjects. They continued to scream to be left in the chamber and alternatively begged in the manner that the gas be turned back on, lest they fall asleep. To everyone's surprise, the test subjects put up a fierce fight in the process of being removed from the chamber. One of the Russian soldiers died from having his throat ripped out. Another was gravely injured by having his testicles ripped off and artery in his legs severed by one of the subject's teeth. Another 5 of the soldiers lost their lives if you count the ones that committed suicide the weeks following the accident. In the struggle, one of the 4 living subjects had his spleen repunctured and he bled out almost immediately. The medical researchers attempted to sedate him, but this proved impossible. He was injected with more than 10 times the human dose of morphine derivative and still fought like a cornered animal, breaking the ribs and arms of one doctor. When heart was seen to beat out for 2 minutes after he bled out to the point that there was more air in his vascular system than blood. Even after it stopped, he continued to scream and flail for another 3 minutes, struggling to attack anyone in reach and just repeat the word "more" over and over, weaker and weaker, until he finally fell silent. The surviving 3 test subjects were heavily restrained and moved into a medical facility. The 2 with intact vocal cords continued begging for gas, demanding to be kept awake. The most injured of the 3 was taken to the only surgical operating room that the facility had. In the process of preparing the subject to have his organs placed back within his body, it was found that he was effectively immune to the sedative, and they given him to prepare for his surgery. He fought furiously against his restraints. When the anesthesia gas was brought out to put under him, he managed to tear most of the way through a 4-inch wide leather strap on one wrist, even though the weight of a 200-pound soldier was holding that wrist as well. It took only a little more anesthesia than normal to put him under, and the instant his eyelids fluttered and closed, his heart stopped. In the autopsy of the test subject that died on the operating table, it was found that his blood had tripled the normal level of oxygen. His muscles that were still attached to his skeleton were badly torn, and he had broken 9 bones in the struggle to not be subdued. Most of them were from the force of his own muscles had exerted on them. The second survivor had been the first of the group of the 5 to start screaming. His vocal cords destroyed, he was unable to beg or object to surgery, and he only reacted by shaking his head violently in disapproval when the anesthesia gas was brought near him. He shook his head yes when somebody suggested reluctantly that they try the surgery without anesthesia. He did not react for the entire 6-hour procedure of replacing his abdominal organs and attempting to cover them with what remained of his skin. The surgeon presiding stated repeatedly that it should be medically possible for the patient to still be alive. One terrified nurse assisting the surgery stated that she had seen the patient's mouth curl into a smile several times whenever his eyes met her. When the surgery ended and the subject looked at the surgeon and began to wheeze loudly, attempting to talk while struggling. Assuming this must be something of drastic importance, the surgeon had a pen and pad fetched so the patient could write down his message. It was simple. Keep cutting. The other 2 test subjects were given the same surgery, both with anesthesia as well, although they had to be interjected with a paralytic for the duration of the operation. The surgeon found it impossible to perform the operation while the patients laughed continuously. Once paralyzed, the subject could only follow the attending researchers with their eyes. The paralytic cleared their system in an abnormally short period of time, and they were soon trying to escape their bonds. The moment they could speak, they were again asking for the stimulant gas. The researchers tried to ask why they had injured themselves, why they had ripped out their own guts, and why they wanted to be given the gas again. Only one response was given: I must remain awake. All 3 subjects' restraints were reinforced and they were placed back into the chamber, awaiting determination as to what would be done with them. The researchers facing the wrath of their military benefactors for having failed the stated goals of their projected, considering euthanizing the surviving subjects. The commanding officer, a former KGB agent, instead saw potential and wanted to see what would happen if they were put back on the gas. The researchers strongly objected but were overruled. In preparation for being sealed in the chamber again, the subjects were connected to an EEG monitor and had their restraints padded off for long-term confinement. To everyone's surprise, all 3 of them stopped struggling the moment it was let slip that they were going back on the gas. It was obvious that at this point all 3 were putting up great struggle to stay alive. One of the subjects that could speak was humming loudly and continuously. The mute subject was straining his leg against the leather bounce with all his might, first left, then right, then left again for something to focus on. The remaining subject was holding his head off his pillow and blinking rapidly. Having been the first to be wired on the EEG, most of the researchers were monitoring his brainwaves in surprise. They were normal most of the time, but sometimes flatlined inexplicably. It looked as if they were repeatedly suffering from brain death before returning normal. As they focused on paper scrolling out of the brainwave monitor, only one nurse saw his eyes slip shut at the moment his head hit the pillow. His brainwaves immediately changed to that of a deep sleep, then flatlined for the last time as his heart stimulously stopped. The only remaining subject that could speak started screaming to be sealed in now. His brainwaves showed the same flat lines as the one who just died from falling asleep. The commander gave the order to seal the chamber with both subjects inside, as well as 3 researchers. One of the named 3 immediately drew his gun and shot the commander point blank between the eyes, then turned the gun on the mute subject and blew his brain out as well. He pointed his gun at the remaining subject, still restrained to a bed as the remaining members of the medical and research team filed the room. I won't be locked in here with these 2, not with you, he screamed as the man strapped to the table What are you? He demanded. I must know. The subject smiled. Have you forgotten so easily? The subject asked. We are you. We are the madness that lurks within all you, begging to be freed at every moment in your deepest animal mind. We are what you hide from in your beds every night. We are what you sedate into silence and perilous when you go to the nocturnal heaven where we cannot trend. The researcher paused and aimed at the subject's heart and fired. EEG flatlined as the subject weak choked out, so nearly free. While there's a number of images associated with this Russian deep sleep experiment, the story is of an event rather than an individual or character. It's one image that's mostly known comically like the stories. Ah, humanoid character. That's kind of cool. Anyways, the story's over. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Definitely very interesting. And what do you mean, how original? Oh, this is hot. Anyways, my electronics are getting hot, so I have to get off. They're literally burning. Um, but thank you everyone for watching today. I was very glad to meet with you guys. Maybe we can do this again another night, probably soon. So, thank you. Have a good night, everyone. Mm, that's hot as hell. Yes. Yes. Take care of your basketball there, Carol. Been on for a couple of days.